Today's video, we have a bit of an update and a call with the Ombudsman that we're going to play. But basically, everyone has tried to just sweep this under the table. The Ministry of Education's education officer got back to us saying that this was essentially outside of their authority and referred us to the Ombudsman. We made multiple complaints to the Ombudsman already, so this time we called them and we were able to speak to our case officer, and it was a productive phone call, but she was supposed to call us back and never did. So hopefully we'll get a call back tomorrow from them. We also received a response from CSNO's lawyers just 2 weeks later out of the blue. It appears to be because they were served with the HRTO application, so they were forced to provide a response. And in their response, they essentially deny everything. They're going to have to admit to the trespass and other things. But from the sounds of the letter itself, they're saying that this just never happened. They did not trespass us. They did not give us an illegal gag order, and none of what we allege occurred. They just deny the incident in its entirety.
Nick speaking. Can I get your first and last name, please?
Sure, it's Michael, spelled A-E-L.
Have you contacted our office before?
I have. I've sent a complaint via email. I've forwarded a notice of intent that was sent to the school boards to you via email. I've made a complaint via your online portal. I then made another complaint via email forwarding the referral from the Ministry of Education, and I've received no response to any.
Okay, I can see it's been assigned to an officer. I can see if she's available.
I would appreciate that.
Can I put you on hold for a moment?
Yep, no problem.
Thanks. Hi, I'm just going to transfer you to Yulia now, okay?
Thank you very much.
No problem. Good morning, Yulia speaking. Bonjour.
Good morning, Yulia.
Hi there, who am I speaking with?
This is Michael Hull. I was just transferred to you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Michael, I understand you contacted us following an incident with, is this a school board or?
It's two different school boards.
I'm not sure. I haven't had a chance to review your complaint.
Hello? You just
If you
cut
could
off.
take me through your complaint, that would be very helpful.
Sure. I mean, it's a bit of a long story, and I actually have...
Sorry?
I said it's a bit of a long story, and I actually have videos and everything documented that you could review. I have the evidence. You know what I mean? So I'm going to take you through it by word, but I'm hoping that you can trust my word knowing that I have all of the evidence required. So essentially, this started with my son asking me to record one of...
So maybe before we continue, I just need to make it clear that our office is an administrative oversight office, so we don't replace the work of the organizations that we oversee that may themselves be responsible for conducting an investigation.
Okay, so now we're at the point where you've not even let me talk.
Someone feels that...
Ma'am, we're at the point where you've not even allowed me to tell you what's happening. You've not allowed me to tell you that I've already spoken to the Ministry of Education, and they're the one who referred me back to you, saying that you are the only people with the authority to intervene here.
Okay, so I'm just trying to provide a context for the work that we do before I...
You do handle abuses of office, and that is what this is. This was an abuse of office, an abuse of the Trespass Property Act, and a bunch of violations, Educational Act violations, civil rights violations, parental rights violations. That's what all this was.
Okay, so if you could take me through what happened.
Sure, I'll rewind the clock about 2 minutes here to when I was trying to tell you this. So, this starts with my son asking me to go record one of his volleyball games. To put things into context, I create content. I am
an investigative journalist. I am an auditor of public services as well. But this was just casual recording. So we created a new channel, which is not monetized, which had no followers whatsoever, conceptualized and co-founded by my son. And his idea was for us to go record the volleyball games and post these online, which is a common thing. This happens absolutely everywhere. You have parents, you have fans, you have former players recording games, posting them online. You also have teams like Manitowatch who live streamed games with this exact same team, this exact same students involved. Anyways, I went and recorded a game. The first one was at Trillium, which is here in Chapleau. There's two schools here in Chapleau, Trillium and CHS. So I went to Trillium, I recorded the game, no issues whatsoever. Then next week there was a game at CHS. I went to CHS, I recorded the game. Not really any issues whatsoever. The town councillor, who is also the school principal, did approach me. And the town councillor has, this is another abuse of office. The town councillor has information from the township, which is protected information, the information that a normal principal wouldn't have and wouldn't have acted on. But she has this information, so it gave her this feeling that she needed to do something. So she did confront me, but at the end of our conversation, she gave me permission to record. The only thing she asked me to do is not to publish the video. That being said, public servants have absolutely no right to tell us what we can do with a recording of a public record. This is a public sporting event. I'm a journalist. I created a public record. I have every right to publish that record. You do not get to penalize me for it. Then the next day, because there are two games back to back, there's one in CHS and then one at Trillium. The next day I go to Trillium again to record my son. So this would have been the third game. But before I get there, my son sends me a photo and calls me telling me that they've now put signs on the gym that say no recording allowed. So now this recording of my son's game turned into what we call an audit. Now I was going to see how they were going to react. But these guys were expecting me, were waited for me, and met me at the door. So the gym is no recording, the sign is no recording in the gym. But they met me at the front door of the school, denied my entry into the school. This is my son's school, by the way. This is my son playing in this game. Parental access is a parental right. It's 265 of the Education Act. They cannot refuse parental participation in activities. That includes recording the activity. Okay? They decided to call the police. They decided to have me trespass. There was no communication ahead of this, and there was no significant communication between their escalation either. So they didn't even ask me to blur, to do anything. They didn't even speak to me at all. They just trespassed me from the school. Then this escalated into a province-wide trespass, an illegal gag order. They intimidated, they harassed, they coerced, they stalked my son, all in efforts to try and get us to remove these videos. Then they branded me a safety risk to students. They branded me a detriment to the learning environment, whatever it may be. Apparently, when I walk onto the property, my aura is so powerful that nobody can focus anymore. So now my son's been forced into homeschooling. And if this isn't resolved soon, we're looking at forced relocation.
Okay. Just a moment.
Then you got the abuse of office on the OPP side. No, you're going to have to hear this 2-second part. So I've actually been charged with 2 counts of trespassing. So there's not just a trespass warning. I've been charged.
Okay. And when did these games take place?
October 28th is the day of the incident. And that whole incident is recorded on video. And that's what they hate. They don't like that I recorded the misconduct. They don't like that I recorded the interaction between me and the principal. That's what they tried to get removed. They filed privacy complaints with YouTube. They filed complaints of harassment and cyberbullying with YouTube. None of them actually went through. The videos are still online now. So if you put this into context, I'm a terrorist. I'm not allowed on any school property of CSNO province-wide. I'm not allowed at ADSB here in Chapleau. I'm not allowed to speak to anyone who works for these companies whatsoever, or I'll be arrested for harassment. All because it is a safety risk to put the image of the principal, the image of the building, the image of students online. While these people already willingly put their own image online, while these same games were being live streamed, while this same league, OFSA, live streams their own events, I was trespassed. I'm branded a terrorist, but these videos are still online. So if there was a legitimate safety risk, they would have been able to get these videos removed. The fact that the videos are still online, are still monetized, tells you that their complaints were frivolous. It's not a safety risk because the videos still exist. The OPP, the RCMP, someone would have gotten involved and removed these videos if they were a legitimate safety risk. Instead, the videos are still live. Everyone's still good. Nobody cares about this anymore. But my son has been forced into homeschooling. I'm not allowed to speak with the school board. So, for example, the Ministry of Education's conclusion was that I needed to deal with this directly with the school board. But there's an illegal gag order on me. I can't speak to them. I'll be arrested the instant I try. That's the level of abuse of office. They did something wrong rather than apologize and deal with it. And this, by the way, the illegal gag order came after I made the complaint of stalking. The principal stalked my son. I asked why. I asked for an explanation. And instead of an explanation, I received an illegal gag order telling me I can't speak to anyone, which actually includes my mother, who works for the same school board.
Okay. And so you mentioned this gag order. In what form was that provided to you? Is this
A legal, what you would consider to
trespass
be...
notice? Is this a letter from the school board?
Exactly. It's a legal letter from the school board's lawyers, not the school board itself. The trespass notices, I have a trespass notice from CSNO, I have a trespass notice from ADSB, and then I have an offense notice from CSNO and an offense notice from ADSB. I have been charged for both of them. But this illegal gag order is a letter from their lawyer.
Orders.
Say that again? Yeah, 2 unlawful trespasses.
So 2 trespass notices.
2 unlawful trespass notices.
And
2 unlawful trespass charges, which is the abuse of office on the OPP's side. That's a long story. There's many videos going there, but the OPP are engaged in gang stalking against me. They flagged me in a special task force for auditors. They've been intimidating me. They've been neglecting duty. They've buried 8 criminal complaints so far. They just don't want to do their job when it comes to me because they don't want to be on camera. Like, they've refused victim interviews, 2 now, where I showed up after they intimidated and coerced me, told me that they wouldn't do the interview unless I went there in person, unless I shut off my cameras. I showed up there and they still ran away and refused to do it. I agreed to everything. I agreed to relinquish all of my rights. I agreed to relinquish my own safety and to allow these criminals to drag me into their interrogation room and to shut off all my cameras. And even after agreeing to that, they still didn't do it. They ran off. There was no one at the detachment. When I called, they didn't show up. They never called back. They legit, as soon as I told them, fine, I'll agree to this, but it's also a civil lawsuit. I'll see you in court. They ran off and refused to take it. And to date, they've still refused to take it. I made complaints with LECA, made complaints with the Ombudsman, and everybody just ignores this. They're like, yeah, you guys are in Chapleau. And you know what it is? And I've been told this. The abuse of office is so blatantly clear that no one wants to believe me. No one wants to believe me that this is actually what happened. They all think that something has to have happened off camera. There has to be another incident somewhere that I don't want to tell you about. But there just isn't. There was zero communication. I showed up to record a game. They called the police. That's what happened. But it's such a blatant abuse of office that no one wants to believe that they actually did it. But they did do it. And they're still doing it. And like I said, as extraordinary as my claim may sound.
Your son.
Go ahead. Yes, you said my son, but I didn't hear what you said.
Could you just provide a little bit more information about what happened with your son?
Sure. So my son is a brilliant student, by the way. He's not a troublemaker. It's not any of these kinds of situations. He is absolutely brilliant. And he's the one who asked me. Now, we call this family violence, emotional abuse. He asked me to go record a game. They trespassed me. Now I'm banned from his school. I can't participate in his activities. I can't even advocate for him. When I tried to advocate, I was punished. But now let's fast forward to when they went to Manitowoc for the finals. I have the date somewhere, but I don't know it offhand. So my son goes on a 3-day sports trip to Manitowoc. They're live streaming the games. My son takes out the tripod and camera because, again, I'll remind you that this is his idea, right? It's not like I had to force him to try and record this. He wanted to do it. It's his idea. So he brought the tripod and camera. He sets up his tripod and camera in Manitowoc to record his game, and immediately he gets harassed by both CSNO and the DSB coaches who tell him he's not allowed to record, blah, 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 blah. So apparently a lot went on there, and I'm told that it's someone from Manitowoc who may have actually stepped in and said, hey, we allowed recording. Why are you guys giving this guy a hard time? So then they physically allowed him to record. But the coercion continued. They continued to nonstop try to coerce him and try to get him to promise that he would not publish this content. So he called me. I called ADSB. I spoke to Blythe, who's the superintendent, and told them to get the message down to their coach that they couldn't harass my son. They had to leave him be. CSNO I couldn't speak to because I already had the illegal gag order from CSNO. Then the next day on their way back, so remember, 3-day sports trip, on their way back to Chapleau, I make a report, or actually I made the report the day before, but I made a criminal report. I reported the harassment, the intimidation, the coercion, and everything that was going on, the abuse of office. Then on the way back, I had told the OPP that I was going to pick up my son from the school bus when it arrived to avoid any further harassment and coercion. I was going to make sure that the principal wasn't waiting for him on the bus and wasn't going to try to delete that video or harass him further. Somehow they spoke to the principal about this, and the principal decided that he was going to go one step further. He was going to drive to Wawa. He was going to intercept that school bus. He was going to get on that school bus with my son. This is the stalking part of it. And he was going to ride that school bus back to Chapleau. So he drove to Wawa, intercepted the bus, rode it back to Chapleau so that he would be on that bus when it arrived. And he called the police, and he had the police waiting there for us. They prevented a parental pickup from the bus after I made a criminal report, after I expressed my concerns, after I advocated for my son. So they made sure I couldn't go on the property. They made my son walk with his bags at 10 p.m. at night. No, not allowed to pick him up with a car. Now, there is a back trail, and my house is very close. So I walked through the back trail. I did go on the property for a minute. I recorded it. I made it fully public. And I grabbed one of my son's bags. We walked off and we walked back. Next week, the police show up at my door with 2 trespass offenses. So they charged me for trespassing on both properties, but they did it 2 weeks delayed for the ADSB, 1 week delayed for CSNO, and they delivered those to my home when the arrest was no longer relevant. Right? There's no issue. The purpose of a trespass is to prevent me from causing an issue. If I went on the property for a minute to pick up my son and left, I didn't cause an issue. I've already left now and I'm back home. There is nothing to enforce. Yet the police felt that they needed to enforce it. It was actually intimidation on behalf of the OPP. And from what I understand, at least one of the 2 school boards, ADSB, wasn't aware that I had been charged. They didn't ask the police to do it. The police did it on their own.
And so the harassment and the stalking that you were talking about with respect to your son, was that the incident where your son was recording and was asked not to, and was asked not to post
Yes.
video later?
But you have to think about, you're not talking about multiple.
Something else?
No, that's what I mean. The harassment and the coercion is there. We're talking about multiple communications, even after they've been told to stop, regarding something that they're not allowed to. And the also other very specific thing that I have to mention here is that he was withdrawn from that school board. We let him play the one final game, but as soon as that game ended, he was no longer one of their students. They were well aware of this. And then they played this game where they refused to process the withdrawal. They refused to withdraw my son. This was a big thing. I had to involve the police, and they refused to withdraw my son. And here's why. It's because of this harassment and coercion and stalking. So after I made the criminal complaint, it was quite clear that, oops, this is true. This happened. So in order to defend themselves, they had to establish the fact that my son was still a student, which gave them authority over my son and authority over me, because there was also harassment and intimidation of me. But my son had been withdrawn. They decided to ignore that. They decided to refuse the withdrawal because it protected them from the criminal actions. But now that we're with the HRTO tribunal, the letter they're writing, the letter says, no, we never refused to withdraw him. He was withdrawn when you requested. Well, if he was withdrawn when I was requested, then he was not one of your students. You had zero authority over him, and you legitimately harassed, intimidated, coerced, and had your principal stalk him. They had no authority over him. And I've called them to tell them that they had to leave him alone, because even though he was there on that bus, he was no longer one of their students. Their only responsibility was to get him home safe and not speak to him. It took these guys almost 2 weeks to get me his academic transcript.
Sorry, how old is your son?
15. Old enough to speak for himself. Old enough to write an affidavit. Old enough to testify in court. And old enough so that when he says, listen, I'm doing this. This was my idea. That they should listen rather than brand his father a terrorist. You know, journalism is encouraged in high schools. Transparency, accountability. You know, like, he would have had every right to record his own game. It's absolute insanity that it's come to this.
So your son right now, you're saying that your son's being homeschooled?
Yes, I am also a former teacher. I'm also a brilliant person and more than capable of handling homeschooling. Unfortunately, you can see where the inconvenience is, right? Like, he's now at home. I have to homeschool him. We hope that it's a temporary matter. But the fact is that, you know, like, they've refused to speak to us. ADSB was negotiating with us at first. It looked like they were going to take him into their school. Then they decided they wanted to wait and speak to their lawyers. And as soon as the lawyers got involved, an illegal gag order came in. Can't speak to the school board anymore. And we'll see you in court because, you know, we need to defend ourselves. We can't just withdraw the trespass. We can't just work with you. We can't just say we're sorry, because that admits fault. So now it's quiet, it's delay, it's deny, it's wait until we get to court, force this guy to go through the process. Waste our taxpayer money, because this is a public institution. It's not a private corporation.
So both of the school boards issued trespassing. Which of the school boards said that you sent you that legal letter?
Both. So it's actually CSNO who sent me the legal letter first. What ADSB did about 2 weeks later is once their lawyer got involved, so ADSB is not an illegal gag order. Let's just say it's just CSNO. ADSB made a request. The lawyer requested that I not speak to the school board and speak to him instead, or her instead. So CSNO gave me a legitimate illegal gag order. ADSB made an inappropriate request.
Okay. You mentioned that there was a human rights tribunal matter. When was that? When did you make that application to the tribunal?
All right, so this one becomes another complicated one. So not long after that, it would have been in October or early November, and I've confirmed that CSNO have been served with the thingamabob and they've provided a response. The issue is that when it comes to both the lawsuit and the Human Rights Tribunal, we're not filing two separate ones. It's one with both of these school boards as co-respondents. So I filed the one against CSNO almost immediately. But because ADSB was speaking to me, was, indicating that they were looking at withdrawing or removing the trespass and taking my son in, I did not file it against them immediately. There's about 2 weeks of stalling and bad faith negotiation from ADSB before their lawyer got involved. So once their lawyer got involved, now I had to amend that HRTO application to add ADSB. So now we're in that stage where if it were CSNO only, we would likely be going into mediation right now. We'd have a scheduled date for mediation. But because I amended to add ADSB, kind of gave us a 2-week delay here where they had to go serve ADSB. We have to wait for the ADSB to provide their response before we'll get the mediation for HRTO.
Okay. This is quite recent. So there is both an HRTO application and you said a civil suit?
Yeah, so the civil suit they haven't been served with. It is 90% drawn up. I mean, they're just waiting to be served. And it's not that easy because they're not local, right? I've been trespassed from these two local schools, so I can't even go there. And it needs to be sent to Sudbury and Sault Ste. Marie, so I'll have to pay process servers.
So ultimately, what are you, what kind of outcome are you looking for, especially in reaching out to our office?
Well, I'm reaching out to your office because this is a clear abuse of office. They weren't allowed to do that. I'm also reaching out to you because I was referred to you by the Ministry of Education, who says that you are the only one with purview over policy. So if they believe that it was school policy to prevent recording, trespass the parent province-wide, and then stick them with an illegal gag order, you have the power to tell them you're going to have to change that policy. But it's not policy. It's an abuse of office. There's no policy that says, if a parent tries to record, he gets trespassed province-wide and stuck with an illegal gag order. That is not a policy. Now, the policy in their gym of no recording is something that you have to have them change. It is a violation of civil rights. It is a violation of parental rights. You can prevent recording of classrooms, of day-to-day school. You can't prevent recording of a public sport. It's a public-funded sport. OFSA is a public organization. When there's a public sporting event in that school, the gym becomes publicly accessible. The parking lot, the lobby, the hallways that lead to the gym all become publicly accessible. So now you're out in public. If they have vulnerable students, those students should stay in the classroom instead of going to the gym. We record the court. We record the athletes. We record the public sporting event. And they cannot use a policy to prevent us from doing that. What I'm looking for you to do is have these trespasses withdrawn so my son can go back to school.
So I do have to provide a little bit more information about. Do the trespasses specify that your son is not allowed in school?
Ma'am, do you have children? Section 265 of the Education Act requires these school boards to permit parental participation. In fact, it requires to maximize. Let me finish. It requires them to maximize parental participation. And then it requires advocacy. That's Section 266. They are required to accept communication from parents. They are required to communicate with parents. So if a school has prevented your participation and your advocacy, you're a single parent, the mother doesn't even live in town, your son is not safe in that school. That is based on your own Education Act. The Education Act says that I would be an irresponsible parent if I allowed my son to go to a school that prevents my participation and my advocacy. So yes, they are preventing my son from going to that school. They have made it unsafe for him. They have emotionally abused him. Do you understand? It's not are they preventing him to? Yo, they have abused him.
So, Michael, just there is a bit of a delay on the line. I think it's probably
It's my phone.
5 or 10 seconds long. So I think we're crossing a little bit in our yeah. So again, I do have to provide a little bit more information about our office. First of all, I need to say that when there is an active matter ongoing in the courts at a tribunal, our office would not.
Then maybe you should have gotten involved before these things were filed. You understand? You guys sat there, ignored it the entire time.
The authority.
Oh, wow. Now, you don't have the authority. So the Ministry of Education doesn't have the authority. The College of Teachers of Ontario doesn't have the authority. They refer us back to the Ombudsman. But the Ombudsman doesn't have the authority. So what you're saying is these teachers are all powerful. They are the ultimate judge, jury, and executioner. No one has authority over them. So listen.
You can give me a few minutes. We simply don't have the power to tell a school board to change their policy, to eliminate their policy.
Then why is the ministry? Let me read the exact email that the Ministry of Education sent me. No, let me read this.
Respecting the policies.
Let me read this. Let me read this. Because they clearly say that you have been given newfound powers to change policies.
To us. I'm just going to double check. Yeah, go ahead.
The fuck are you guys?
So I think you shared with us the email from the
yeah, exactly. So
Ministry
read it.
of Education, which
Read it.
says situations specific to school board's policy would be addressed directly with the school board.
Except I have an illegal gag order.
So again, with the school
But
board,
look at this. Please note, as part of the
and then it
government's
also
commitment
says
to public sector accountability, openness, and transparency, the authority of the Ombudsman of Ontario has been expanded to investigate complaints involving school board. This includes concerns about school board policies, procedures, and practices. If you feel the school board has not addressed your concerns, you may wish to consider contacting the Ontario Ombudsman about this matter.
Right. So I would like to have a chat with our team to get a better sense of what our role might be in this case.
Well, listen, it was Yulia, right?
I'm just going to also add that on what you said that it was a privacy issue, that the principal and students, it was expressed as a privacy issue that the recording shouldn't take place. Is that correct?
Yeah, while they live stream the same exact event. It's not a privacy issue. This all started because one parent made a complaint. This is an attack against me, is what it is. If you watched the videos, if you saw what was going on.
Organization that may be
Well, look, listen, Yulia, we've been on the phone for half an hour. I appreciate that you've listened to me. You have done more than many other organizations in actually asking questions and going through and speaking to me. I hope that you can speak to your team. I hope that you guys can figure something out. This phone call has been recorded. You're going to end up on YouTube. You're being audited as well. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely everyone wants to throw this off to the next person. Everyone thinks it's outside of their authority, and no one wants to get involved. Someday I'm going to figure out whose job it was to get involved, and those people are going to wish they would have gotten involved.
So let me get back to you once I have some additional information. If you don't mind, just a few moments. I'd just like to see if there's anything else.
Well, the one thing I can say, ma'am, is if you have no power over the school board, you sure as hell do have power over the OPP. And over the town councillor who violated their ethics and abused both of their offices.
You said that you'd submitted a complaint to LECA.
Yeah, I've submitted like 10 complaints to LECA. I made a criminal complaint against Kevin Fellinger, who's the detachment commander out here.
Have those been finalized?
Is that actually a joke? Have those been anything? I mean, I can show you all of the videos. You can see this for yourself. No, those have been 100% ignored, is what they've been done. Because as I keep saying, the abuse of office is so blatantly clear that no one wants to believe that someone would actually do this. Like, it doesn't stop at the school boards. It's the OPP is a bigger part of this than the school boards are.
So,
the town councillor is a major issue.
Our office doesn't duplicate the work of the...
You're not duplicating any work. No one's done any work.
Organizations that we oversee.
You've not.
If there are,
what? They've not done anything. They've not done anything.
That haven't made their way through that process.
Oh yes, they have. They've closed them.
Again, our office would not be involved. With respect. But this is a very recent issue, right? This is end of October, beginning of November.
Ma'am, just trust me. All of the complaints are tied together and they've closed them all in bulk. LECA is a problem. Now, look. I don't want to speak about this anymore. You've made it quite clear that you don't have authority. You believe you don't have authority. Okay? Just like everyone else has done. So, I get it. I get it now. OPP, school boards, they are God. No one has power over them. I understand it, and so will my viewers.
So, Michael, I am a little concerned that you'd like your son to be back in school, and
no shit, that's what I've been trying to do for the last month. It's been my only priority is to get him back into school.
Would it be okay if I gave you a call back after I've had a chance to speak?
Yes, absolutely, Julia. I absolutely would appreciate that. You do have the phone number, right? Hello?
Yeah, I've got the 705.
Yeah, that's the one. I'll tell you right now, though, that's a Wi-Fi app. It's why we're getting this delay, right? It's not my real phone. You guys don't get my real phone. People want to harass me, so they don't get my real phone number. Correct. Now, it's possible that when you call, I won't be able to answer. Just leave a voicemail and I'll call back.
you able to receive calls?
Yeah. It's just that the reception's not great, so sometimes the phone will ring and I won't even be able to answer.
If you're not answering.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, thanks very much for following up.
Yeah, I do appreciate your time. Yeah, obviously you can tell that I'm upset, which is a normal reaction to these things.
I'll be in touch soon.
Okay, bye. Thanks for watching. For more media content, check out our newest channel, Noka Media. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any videos or stories you want to send us, just send an email at nocaudits@gmail.com.